Tuesday, January 2nd, 2018, 6 p.m. Fall meeting of the Rockingham Selectboard. I just want to point out that the agenda that went out during the holiday week had a clerical error. It's listed as Tuesday, January 5th, 2017, but looking in our rules of procedure, oops, sorry, Siri thinks I'm talking to her. It says each regular meetings shall take place on the first and third Tuesday at 6 p.m. of each month for Rockingham Selectboard. And each regular and special meeting of the body shall have an agenda. So we have an agenda, it just has a clerical error of the date. So I made the judgment that I think we're legal, I believe we're legal with going to proceeding with our meeting, so. Okay, moving on. Are there any additions to the agenda for routine administrative matters and or pressing matters that will need ratification at a future meeting? Great. Approved minutes of December 19, 2017.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Minutes are approved. Is there any public comment on items not on the agenda? Yes, Deb.
I see that you have, you're getting ready to do your draft warning articles for the annual meeting in March. And I just wanted to say that I had some feedback from residents in Rockingham who would like to know, like to say that when they ask questions of the board, they would really, and or the manager or the chair or whomever, they really want the answers then. They said they got feedback on the floor, like, I'm in my office, so we'll look into that. I mean, the reality is, people come in for a Monday annual meeting to be legislators. They really want their answers, and so it would be nice to, the articles of things that they're going to be asking about our budgets and so on and so forth, they'd really like to have an answer on Mondays. So I'm just bringing it to you. Some of them feel that they have too many years in a row been pushed off on answers that they're probably never going to get to the town hall again, or remember to send you an email or whatever. If they ask a question, they want to make sure that they get an answer. And that's it, and to the best of your ability. That was all. Thank you.
Something the town moderator, I guess, we need to write in on.
I think sometimes it's not possible though, so I shouldn't. Huh?
That's what it is.
All right, thanks, Deb. Any other public comment? Manager's report.
The big news obviously has been the weather, and I wanted to thank Mike Hines and the Highway Department once again for just doing a phenomenal job. It's been really, really tough conditions. We also had a lot of people missed their Christmas holiday with their families, so for that, thank you. And really did an amazing amount of work. At the next meeting, you'll be looking at the overtime reports, which will be phenomenal, but it's work that have to be done and is continuing to be done. And I know that Mike has worked an exorbitant number of hours over the past week and a half. And again, thank you. That's all I have right now.
Is there anything we can do, to show our appreciation for the guys
You got a
besides
CDL?
that big fat paycheck? The what?
I got a CDL.
No, thank you. I've had several offers from the board, and I thank you, but we're in pretty good shape. The sidewalk tractor thing it's working out. I've got a couple of people. I just need to find the right community to work with it. So.
It's tough finding people to do some of the handwork.
Especially when it's minus temperatures out there.
I'm talking about food.
Well, you can always bring up food. I'll never turn that down.
Okay, because some people have asked that. Because how do we show our appreciation
Yeah,
for
that's
what they
fine.
do? Okay.
Any and all is welcome.
Great. Yes,
On
thanks.
that note, that Leanne White from the Legion keeps us well supplied in soup and stuff, and I just want to give her the recognition she deserves, because she's always bringing us up a kettle of something prior to every storm.
Oh, that's
Oh,
nice.
good.
That's
Good.
great. Thank you.
You know.
Okay, nothing else in the manager's report. We'll move
Nope.
on to the agenda. First item was the town of Bennington, discuss rail cars with hazardous chemicals. This came up, Anne brought it to our attention actually, but it's also been something that's been on a lot of our minds as we see these propane tanks parked along the railroad right here, right outside of Bellows Falls, right outside of Bartonsville. I know it's really a town, it's a federal issue with the railroad, but Bennington Select Board has voiced their concern to the railroad system. So I don't know, Ann, you want to
You know, I just think maybe we should join with Bennington, maybe sending the state a letter. You know, the legislature is starting to get their agenda, you know, for this coming year together, so I think we should add our name to that. Like, Carrie, how do we do that? Just a letter sent out?
Yep. Send a letter, authorize super sign.
Because this is getting not close to the anniversary of that train derailment in Quebec,
Canada.
which basically wiped out an entire town. So, and they rent out the railroad lines for storage, for propane tanks in areas that, you know, there should be propane tanks. So, okay.
Yeah. Did you have something?
What's the concern?
That they're parking full
Right.
railroad tanks.
And what's gonna happen?
Well, if there's an accident and one of them goes up, I mean, we assume that's what's in that, in those tanks. Because the railroad doesn't have to tell you what's actually in them.
I mean, it's also as a hazardous material, they label it a target, as in
Right.
for terrorists. That's the
Which is why
biggest
they won't.
concern.
Yeah.
And it's the railroad, so it's tough to tell them what to do, but I'm not, they're double wall, they're safe like tanks, but it's more of a terrorism thing is really the,
Well, the thing is, we looked into this a couple of years ago, and some of these tanks are like really, really old, and they shouldn't even be on the rails. That seems to be the concern. And I understand to replace them all would be very expensive, but, you know, at least we can mention it before it happens. Maybe there is something that can be done. Because you can't tell the railroad anything, apparently.
And then you get the, you know,
Federal.
our senators involved possibly if there's anything that can be done on a federal level. But yeah, it was just to raise our concern that they are parked here and they're parked here for a very long time and we don't know what's in them. And at times they're parked very close to residential areas in Bartonsville.
Are they parked up by the dam when they're fixing them? Are they on the other side or?
I don't know.
was there a plan in place if something were to happen? Do you know?
Well, they're supposed to, in theory, there's the railroad or whoever owns these toxic chemicals is supposed to get involved with local fire with some training, and I don't know if they have.
I can inquire with,
Yeah.
with,
They're supposed to loop them in.
Mhm.
I don't know if they have. All right, well, that was just that.
Pardon?
Do you want a letter written?
Yeah. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we send a letter to the governor expressing our concerns about parked rail cars near residential areas
With potential toxic.
with potential toxic content.
Authorize.
And authorize the chair to sign it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank
Do we
you.
need a motion to have the manager look into the
What training's being done? I mean, what?
plan with,
Emergency
I'm pretty
plan?
sure they have no responsibility and they depend on the local departments to take care of.
Well, I know when they put in the propane station up here, there was some discussion with the fire department about training, but
They did have
don't-
training for that.
They did have training
Yeah, I
for
remember
them.
that. Yeah,
And
I-
because they're also parked up there too, and I don't know if
Yeah,
it's
I
similar.
put it down a note to have to find out if the Bells Falls and the Rockingham Volunteer Fire Departments have been contacted, but we don't know.
And plus, these trains go underneath the village of Bellows Falls. And it's a whole different animal when they're in an enclosed area, what happens, because that happened in Baltimore, Maryland. And it was a major disaster there many years ago.
I'd like to suggest that perhaps we might want to amend the language from toxic to toxic or hazardous.
All right.
Okay.
All right, anything else? All right, town policy, social service policy, revised due date for level funding request. I know this came up because the letter that went out had a different date than what the policy was or something, right here?
Yes.
So this is just to correct that.
Quite a few years ago, the board changed the due date to November 1, but never changed the policy. So
this is just change the policy so it coincides with the date.
Just gets us better in line with the budgeting process.
Isn't that automatic though?
What?
If you change one thing, then, oh, you have to vote to
No,
change the
you have to
policy.
vote to change the policy. All right, so the policy is here. The only changes is
Just the date.
November 1st, beginning with town meeting coming up.
Madam Chairman, I would make a motion that we change the social service appropriation policy from December 15th to November 1st.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Okay. Misplacement of the arrow. Sorry. All right. Finance, review bond debt. As we're going over the budget, kind of wanted to look at that just to see where we stand with that.
And we forwarded a list of debt that's from the most recent, the draft audit we just got a week or so ago. And also tonight was distributed it in chart form. So I just didn't know if the board had any questions about that. And you raised some questions about it.
I
Just
did,
didn't know if
because
there's
of what
something
the trustees were going through, what I heard. So it seems that's a lot of debt, like over $5 million. So if we're looking at some, road improvements coming up, I'm not sure I'd want to take on any more debt. If you have like $5,383,000 in debt. At what point is it not good to, what's the breaking point? Some of these end in the next couple of years, I understand, but.
Right, I mean,
Some don't
there is a
count.
ratio,
Yeah,
a debt ratio that you want to try to avoid insofar as future borrowing, if you want to do anything, there's a certain limit. I don't know offhand what that limit is, but there are projects that, that need to be done. One of the things we've been talking about is spacing out on it. Griswold, yeah. Griswold Drive, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Everett is suggesting that we can wait a couple of years on that
Yeah.
and do some less expensive fixes.
Yeah.
Like one of.
We haven't read it in detail. We got it over the weekend. I looked at it a little bit. He's actually, we got to meet and sit down and talk. But he's actually talked about doing some stuff ahead of time to lead up to the road reconstruction, like some of the drainage all has to be redone. There's no sense putting a big patch over it. You put a patch over it right now without doing some drainage work because they're failing. Every summer we're changing something up there because the drainage is all metal pipe. It's all failing. The drains are metal, the culverts that lead away from are all metal. They're all rusted in place. The roads are dropping right now. So, like I said, Shane and I haven't had a chance to talk to him because we just received it over the weekend, but he's proposing that we push it off several years. Get the drainage fixed up, then maybe put a shim and an overlay on it. And I think he was looking out to like 2030 or something.
Yeah, there's
Really
10, 15.
Yeah.
Get a bunch of years out of it, which is nice.
So if that's something that's doable, I'm opposed to it, especially, but nothing, the only thing I'd say, it's not gonna get any cheaper. But if we can do it in sections like we did Parker Hill many years ago, then just recently Rockways Mills, we did, a section, a couple miles a year, 3 years. If we could do one half of the hill one year, one half the other year, but we gotta sit down and look it over too. Because there's other roads that are, believe it or not, are in worse shape.
Because if something else happens, like, Hurricane Irene, then we're really screwed. So,
Let's hope.
but you never know.
Nope.
And flooding is supposed to be worse going forward than it has been in the past decade, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because we have, when you look at the totals for the next, it's gonna drop for the next, until 2022, but then we're gonna take a big hit in 2023 to 2027, as other notes come due, right? So you really have to time any kind of bond that we're looking to do, because you don't want them to all start hitting at that same time. Ron, do you have any sense, I know you just jumped on board this a couple of days before Christmas, but do you have any sense of the question of, on the ratio that would be ideal?
Not really. There's a balance of what needs to get done versus certainly what can we afford to pay. It's probably a very hard ratio to calculate.
Yeah.
Because, like Mike said, some of these roads are poor, but you also mentioned a few minutes ago that you're not sure you're comfortable raising the debt level. So we can certainly, well, this goes out to 2022. We can certainly extend this out all the way. And that way you get to see where some more of these are gonna drop off. And we can certainly do that.
But it's a good thing to borrow money when the interest rates are so low. In the past couple of years, they've been around like 1% or a little bit higher.
And they're going up
But,
each quarter.
yeah, so, I mean, that's kind of like the dilemma.
We can certainly do some projections on if we increase, the bond, any of the long-term debt, what it might have an effect on tax rates.
'Cause yeah, we also have to factor in when we're gonna start hitting the clock for the state road, what is that called? Hydrological
Segments.
segment. I mean, we have bad roads that have to be fixed, but we also have money that's gonna come
We
up
have an
from
erosion
that.
control plan in conjunction with the hydrological segments, that's gotta be put into place with it.
Yeah. So that's just gonna add costs that we're gonna have to. And I would say probably the big major road expenses coming up are probably what, Brockway's, Pleasant Valley Road?
Yeah.
That's true. And Griswold
I
Drive.
think once we all have a chance to look at that RSMS, it'll give you a good understanding where we are. And I think a lot of us need to take care of what we have that's good right now.
Yeah.
And roads that are bad are, unfortunately, we have the time and money.
Why don't you explain that, because some people just don't.
The road surface,
No, because when they wanted to shim coat 121, and they
Yeah.
said, well, that's a new road, why don't you just put the money into
Well-
fixing a bad road?
121 was a multi-million-dollar project, a lot of federal, state money, and they came in, here again, that's a road they did in, 3 years, I think, same thing. And the town came in after, and we chip sealed it. What the chip seal does, it seals that road up. As soon as you put the pavement down, believe it or not, Mother Nature oxidation starts breaking down. So you want to get that road sealed up, so no water or nothing can seep down in and start breaking stuff up. So that's the reason. Tried to get the chip seal on within a couple of years after the paving. Same with Brockway, same with Parker Hill. Those are 3 real good roads. I don't think Pleasant Valley Road was ever done, because I think at the time it was cut out of the budget. I don't know that for a fact, but I think that it was. I'm not saying that was the cause, but it's certainly a contributing factor. Look at Parker Hill, that road's beautiful. Brockway's gonna look the same way in 10 years, as long as we take care of it. We got a crack fill them, we got a chip seal them. I don't know how long it'll last, but they project 121 to last 20 years with the recent chip seal. I don't know that it will, but we have to watch it. We're in a bad part of the country. Things move all the time.
Yeah.
But yet, you take care of your good roads. Good roads first. The ones that are bad, you just gotta patch them, do what you can until the money comes about where you can fix them. Fix them the right way. Griswold Drive is gonna be a major project, major. That's my fear if we didn't do something sooner. 'Cause it was $1 million 10 years ago, it's $2 million now, what's it gonna be?
10 years on.
I remember a few years ago, we wanted to chip seal Griswold Drive. Do you remember that?
And we did, and that helped us. I didn't think it would last, but it did work. We guessed probably 10 years, and what are we into, 15, 16 years now? So it did help, it really did.
But some people didn't want to do it.
Yeah, they
Because there are
did.
kids up there and they ride their
Yeah.
bicycles and they roller skate, so.
This new, this isn't, all those chip seals were conventional chip seal, they were just a stone with some tar. This is actually it's a rubberized, the stone's heated and it's rubberized, it doesn't, it used to stick to everything, it doesn't do that anymore. We got, last 2 times we did, I got 0 complaints.
Oh, good.
With a conventional, they were beating the door down. But, yeah, this is really, it's a good process, so. I was kind of leery of it at first. Everett and I argued about it, but I believe in it now.
All right, any more questions on the debt?
Nick, you can also ask our auditor if there's any recommended, industry standard that they look at. It's always easy to do that. Bounce it off them.
Yeah, because I mean, from 2022, we go from 702 to 1,038, right, 1,383 plus change, and that's because you go down and then other things come true, so we come due. So we kind of want to time any adding more debt, not for that, hopefully not for that timeframe, the 2023 to 2027 timeframe.
That's not 5 years away.
Yes, I know. So we really have to, once we get this report from Everett, really figure out.
Is that also a long-range plan?
Yeah, it's gonna be
Yes.
done every 5 years.
We don't really have one, right?
We had an oval.
No, just this.
Problem is we didn't follow it, or we didn't.
Right,
We
that's,
didn't go.
we did have, yeah, we had one, and we just didn't adhere to it.
Yeah.
We never did.
Yeah, we had one way back in, when Everett was back here and I took over my current position, we had a plan then, and we were sticking to it, and it just, I think Irene kind of put the kibosh
Yeah,
on all of it.
yeah.
What happened every 5 years?
That's our SMS, you go and you reevaluate all your roads, every 2 years on your culverts and stuff. Now with this new hydrological road segment, I don't know if that's gonna be every couple of years.
Yeah. Well, when I talked to Everett over the weekend, he said that for those roads, basically, when you have to make your plan for what you need to do for your roads, and then you address those.
You stick
Because
to
we
it.
do have a fairly long time frame. I can't remember what it is.
Right, yeah, I can't remember either.
It's 20-something
Yeah,
years out,
right.
20, but we have probably 25 years worth of road work that
Oh,
needs to
yeah.
be done. So
No doubt.
you really have to sit down with all of that and figure it out.
Yeah, we were, I think just prior to Irene, we were halfway there for rebuilding and reconstructing the roads that needed it. We were doing really well, and then, of course, that came along.
Some towns like Grafton really had no money to deal with that.
Right. Yeah, we fared pretty well, actually.
All right, any further questions on the debt service issues? Obviously, we will be looking at that again. All right, review the draft warning articles. So many of these are standard, Article 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 is, we'll know that once we know what our tax rate is and what we have to raise. Same for 6 is the library budget. Article 7 are the various agencies. Is
There are
there
more-
someone petitioning, or do you know, Carrie?
I think, what is the Greater Falls Connection?
Is petitioning?
Yeah, I think so, right? They are. I'm not sure how much. What is it, 4,000. So, and then there's always the surprise ones.
All right. there any other articles that, I'm trying to remember thinking back to the meetings in the past, that we had said we needed to? I don't think there.
Sometimes there are political ones.
I gave you a timeline when you have to be by the 18th petitioned articles. So your last meeting, your next meeting's on the 16th.
So we really have to have this buttoned down.
Yeah. Then we have to wait until the 18th. We can sign a warning the 16th, once it's done. But if anything else comes in, we'd have to call another meeting to
Special meeting.
Mhm.
And
You
we have
decide
until the
if
18th.
it's something you want to put on, if it's a political one, you can.
I can't think of any.
No, I think someone would decide we didn't need to do, things like moving a meeting at the.
Oh,
from-
we did talk briefly about, you mean to Saturday?
Yeah.
And then we talked about changing the form of government a little.
You did.
No, we,
Yeah.
goes back and forth from town manager to town administrator.
If you do that, you have to warn it. Do you want to change it? Then then you have to do it the next time you vote to do it, and then you do it. It's like a 3-year process, 3 or 4-year process before you do it.
I don't think it's gone back and forth. Has there ever been a town administrator?
But I think Bennington, bringing up Bennington again, they're looking at that. And
Yeah,
it's
Rutland
like
was looking at change. Seems to be
pendulum.
pendulum in the state for people
Hmm.
who are going back and forth. But most of them have decided to stay with what they have, probably for that very reason. It takes 3 years to do it.
It takes a while to do anything like that.
I think that would have to be us rather than somebody from general public doing that.
Right. No, and then the other one that comes from time to time is to change the town meeting date. That also has to be a period of years, correct? From a Monday night to a Saturday. That's come up several times. But
Yeah, and somebody did that. I can't remember who it was now, and said they didn't get any better turnout on Saturday than they did.
That was Putney years ago. I was the manager there.
Yeah.
We changed it to Saturday. Same people showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't get
There was
any better response.
essentially no difference.
People with kids still have the same babysitting problem
Yeah, that's true.
that they do in the evening, so. yeah.
And then maybe to vote on, like, certain
Last
budgets.
ballot, that's another one that takes
Yeah.
several years.
Sometimes it's difficult for people, older people, to get to the meeting and to vote on, the
Oh, you mean
town
not to vote
budget.
on the budget at the meeting?
Right,
Not to-
yeah.
Yeah, that
Sometimes
comes
that
up
makes
from time
sense,
to
right?
time, too.
Yeah.
Well, I guess these are things we don't want to address this town meeting.
There's gonna be a real push.
I mean, unless there's anyone out there who has stuff, they want to push it, we're here. Okay, anything else on that draft warning article? All right, moving along to the budget. Review fiscal 18 year-to-date budget status report. Ron, you want to jump in on that? I don't know, as I said, you've just come on board, so.
I would if I brought down the town and not the village.
Oh, you
But-
got it.
We've got it here.
Do you have it there?
Want it?
Yeah.
Are there any major,
Well, we're at 47.5% of the
47, I was
budget.
wondering what we
Yeah.
were,
47.4.
47.4?
Yeah. These are up through as close as we could to the end of the year, end of December.
Yeah.
We're running close to 50%, but as we all know, not all of these expenses, occur evenly throughout the fiscal year.
Like oil.
Oil, we're coming into, especially now, the storms. It's all sand. So gonna have some high expenses the first 3 or 4 months of the new year here.
Mike and I talked today about is it salt and sand, or just the salt?
Sand.
Excuse me. So, yeah, we're gonna potentially run low.
I'm sorry?
We're gonna potentially run a little low, so we may have to do
Yeah.
another purchase.
Well, we talked about that earlier, because we said, Michael, you said that too, that this year we expect it to be more of an ice event
Yeah.
more than snow. So, already we're running low?
Well, we had that one good rainstorm, and that probably ate up 1,000 yards out of a 5,000 or 6,000 yard pile. And I mean, you have to use it. You have to use it. And,
About- yeah, go ahead.
just recently, we used more sand because the salt doesn't work in this temperature. It doesn't work like it should. So we sanded more than we salted.
Yeah.
So there's another few hundred yards that we put out again this weekend and Christmas Day, just because the temperature was so cold. So yeah, it's first part of January, I'm a little concerned with it.
What about the,
Couple more rain events, I mean, and that could deplete that pile tremendously. Couple more freezing rain. Typically you get them in February and March, and you expect it toward the end of your winter, and sand pile, it's getting low, but this reminds me of that one year, we had to screen sand in the middle of January, because we ran so low. We're not dangerously low by any means, I mean, but we used a lot the last couple of weeks, and that one day we had the freezing rain.
we're supposed to get a storm again on
Yeah,
Thursday?
small one Thursday, I hope. Small. An inch or a foot, you still gotta deal with it, still eats up material.
Yeah.
Gotta plow it, you gotta salt it, you gotta sand it.
So going forward, they were talking about these accidents that they had on around Keene on Route 9.
Yeah, those were
Like
bad.
nothing worked on them because you had a
I don't
lot
know,
of
I don't know what those roads were like, I have no idea.
black ice. They said the salt didn't work on them.
Yeah, salt works good typically to 20 degrees. Between 16 and 20 degrees, it starts slowing down, doesn't work. There's a variety of chemicals you can add to it, which we do. We have some magnesium chloride that we spray on the salt, we treat the salt. That helped a little bit over the weekend. It actually got the roads bare that you see bare. Those were all snow-packed covered. And between the sunlight and that treated salt, we were able to get the majority of the major roads back down to blacktop. So, but the side streets are all still hard packed. They got a sand and salt mix on them, and when the sun comes out and the traffic starts using them, they'll break up. And the dirt roads we're sanding almost every day. Put the sand down, the sun comes out, heats it up, the sand sinks out of sight, the traffic beats it down to nothing. You have to come in the next morning and sand them again.
So then you have overtime if they constantly have to come back and do it.
Yeah, well, I try to watch the overtime. Sometimes it's beyond my control. Like
Is it-
Christmas Day, everybody wasn't here all day. Most of the Rockingham crew was here all day. But the guys in Bellows Falls Village swapped off back and forth. So they didn't have the amount of overtime that the Rockingham guys are gonna have.
So meaning, is there something else we could use? We've talked before, I mentioned beet juice.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
No, that
That's
they
similar.
actually
It's
use
similar.
this in Canada.
Yeah. But it's similar to the magnesium chloride. They have, actually ordered a load of treated salt today to try. We had an option to try 100 tons, so I exercised that option and I ordered it today and we'll see what it does. I wish I'd had it 2 weeks ago, but I didn't.
What did you order?
Some treated salt called Safe Lane.
Mm-hmm.
It works at colder temperatures. It's supposed to leave a more residual effect. So after the storm's over, it starts, whatever's left, there's more left over to start working again, so you don't have to apply as much. So they say, but I haven't actually tested it to see. I know that the salt we put out this weekend that was treated with what we had worked really well. So,
Is it more expensive?
no, not really. $2 bucks.
So when we order more, we can order more of that.
If that's how we want to go. If it starts to work good, that'll do away with the liquid stuff. We won't need to have the liquid because it's already on the salt. We'll use just that treated salt. So that's one expense we won't have is the liquid, which is, I can't tell you, probably $3,000 a tank full, and you can go through that real fast.
Mm.
There's 4 trucks that currently have tanks on them, and the rest, if we need it, I mix it in with the salt, and we put it right on the truck. That's what we ended up doing this weekend. I thought it worked really well. The roads look pretty good, I think,
Yeah.
Good to know.
for the temperature.
All right, so we'll know, obviously, next week or so how that salt holds up. And if we need to go
Yeah, I mean, by
ahead
the end
with
of the month, I
another.
have a better grasp of where
Yeah.
the sand pile's at. If I think we need to do something then I'll speak to the manager.
And it's, I'm assuming it's available, is that
Well, that's
sand
the
one of the issues?
next, that's the next thing.
Yeah,
I don't know who has what right
yeah.
now. Because if we're having problems, you can bet everybody else
Everybody else
is.
is,
Mhm.
exactly.
So it might be good to get it before everybody else.
Well, that's, so chooses, yeah. I think the supplier that got the bid this year, I don't know for a fact, but I don't think he has any. But there's a couple of local guys that do. There's always Lane, it's not a natural sand product, it's a crushed stone product.
Hmm.
I guess it works as well, Westminster's using it, seems to work okay.
Because it's not something that if you don't use it, it's going to spoil.
No?
So it's probably good to get it what you can. Because
It's better
people
to get a
have,
large, it's better to get a large quantity, like get down a couple thousand yards, buy a couple thousand yards, because a third of that's gonna cake, freeze up, you're gonna lose probably a quarter of it anyway. We won't lose it, we'll use it again next year, but you gotta cast it aside, because you can't put it, you can't break it down, we don't have a screener to screen it down. So, it's the cap on the sand pile, freezes, the cap's 3 feet thick up there.
and this is outside.
Yeah. It would freeze inside also, but not as bad.
Yeah, especially right now.
That's why we try to get it in so early in the summer to have low moisture, so but it's still a few feet on top, always freezes.
All right, is there anything else that sticks out in the budget, or the status report, where we're at?
I don't know. You know, one thing when we did talk about it, the 10, what's that street with the burnt out house?
Church
Church
Church,
Street.
10 Church Place. That's not in here, this isn't included in the budget, correct?
It is.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, well, a loan is anticipated, so I think I built $40,000 in for that. And right now, they're scheduling a meeting up to Southern Windsor Regional Planning to discuss our application for that. You know, it would be an interest-free loan. I have, in the budget, I'm carrying 3 years, we could get up to 5 years. And, but that actually would have to get approval from the voters, now I think about it.
5 years.
Yeah, even the 3, any kind of borrowing, anything more than a year.
Well, then it sounds like we need to.
Where would that fit into this?
Yeah, but I'm waiting to hear back. We may not have
Do we
anything.
know when we'll hear?
What's that?
Do you know when that meeting is?
They're trying to schedule it sometime next week, I think, possibly the 11th.
And we don't know how much that will cost, though.
Correct. We do not, I got some ballpark figures from someone. It was a lot less than I thought it was going to be, but there's no way to tell at this point. I've had a couple of, a hazmat contractor out there a week or so ago, and I've been on the phone with a couple of them, so it's still working on it. Chuck's working on it as well.
So a guesstimate?
They gotta get inside. We're trying to get someone to get inside.
No one's going
Give you a
inside.
different number.
Well, you can't take out a loan unless you know how much we need.
Well, right, well, they can estimate by looking at, how much building is there, and estimate if you have to cart the whole shebang off, about what it's gonna cost. So, I mean, I was, told, possibly 80,000, as little as $80,000. We'll see. I don't have a better number than anything like that.
But you could take a loan out for, say, 100,000 for more than what you think, anticipating worst-case scenario.
That's what I'm suggesting. I'm looking at, what is built into the budget right now is a $120,000 loan over 3 years. So you have a $40,000 number in there.
So we wouldn't have to go to the voters for that to make
Well,
that
any
spending.
borrowing.
I thought you said over 5 years.
No, we said over 1
Right
year.
now, the budget has over 3 years, but we could do as many as 5 years. I'd prefer to do 5 years if it's interest-free. I mean, if it's interest-free, I'd rather do it for 500 years.
Put out the pain if it's.
Spread the pain.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We have to pay for it.
Particularly if
but-
it's interest-free. There's
Yeah,
no
if it's
reason
interest-free,
to-
there's no
to
point
go
in
sh-
doing it
go
quicker.
short.
Okay, but that's for the next year budget. Is there anything on this current budget status that anyone has concerns, questions for Ron about?
We're at 47% of the budget, 47.4.
47.4, yeah.
Or-
We've spent 67.4.
Probably. There are a lot of things such as social service agencies, they get paid right off the bat in general.
And then there's a lot that
County-
haven't been paid.
Of course. And then there's county taxes and things like that. There's a lot of different expenses that are front-loaded. Other examples
Say that
are,
again?
Budget and actual.
some things weren't even budgeted, such as park and ride electricity. Yeah, it's not unusual to be at that sort of a number at this time of year.
And the recycling thing, one more time, I know we've been over this, but the repairs and maintenance is almost 3 times.
Yeah, that was the
Because
electrical
of-
work that had to be done when they,
The electrical work didn't cost that much.
and all the other installation for whatever they did for the,
Right, the compactor and related costs to that. We also did the shed there as well. But knowing that we would be getting, instead of $17,500 that we anticipated, we ended up with, I think, $46,000 to $48,000. So the feeling was that that wasn't an issue. We might as well just go forward with whatever we needed to do to get that compactor up and running.
Under cinema expense, there seems to be a lot budgeted, but then actually only a portion of that has been used.
They may not
That-
get paid yet.
Huh?
They may
Page are we?
not, they don't get paid yet, only halfway through.
Well, page 17. For example, advertising, the budgeted expense is 6,000 and only 1,700
Page 17.
has been used, and it's over half the year.
Yep.
Film rental, 80,000 budgeted, only 27,000 has been used, so there's some savings here,
Mhm.
certainly.
Yep.
So are these kind of like guesstimates more than, looking at what's happened
The
in the
actuals,
past?
the actuals are actual.
Mhm.
I'm not sure.
the budget is, I guess.
Yeah. Like electricity, that's been budgeted for 10,000 and only 3,200 has been used.
Right. I mean,
So it seems, I mean.
that's great.
Yeah, I know, but it seems like there's some savings, a lot of savings.
Well, I think it's something when we're looking into this next fiscal year budget,
Mhm.
there might be areas where we can, if there's been a pattern of this
Yeah.
Mhm.
over
It
3 or 4
It
years.
could also be that we have several bills that we need to allocate. I mean, they may not have been allocated. They're, some of it may be in general fund, and we just need to move it over at some point.
Mhm.
Due to and due from different departments.
All right, is there anything else on the current budget year? All right, let's move on to reviewing our fiscal year 2019 budget, and we're gonna jump to highway because we have Mike here. We talked a little bit already about some of the things. Projects in the works, but, I mean, we've added 50, what are we total paving at this point? Forget. 300? 300.
That's what it was, yeah.
Yeah, something like 300, and
What's
then
that? I'm sorry.
paving. I'm trying to think of projects that are online. I mean, we'll know more, obviously, when we have a chance to
Right.
digest
Yep.
this report, but,
Yeah. I can't tell you right now where that
Yeah.
would go.
But
I know
then-
I could use it, but
right. But you think that's,
I think wait and see what that RMS comes out with,
Yeah.
and then go from there. That's the best way to do it. It's gonna tell you what's the worst, what we should be doing, where we should be starting. Yeah.
because there was some, an additional to that 300, there was some that we rolled over from last year, correct?
Yeah, and we talked about that a little while. Not a whole lot in paving.
Not a whole lot, okay.
No, it's mostly sidewalk money. There's a total that we brought forward year to year, 96,000, I think it was. Actually, so before we get any further, we have received the draft audit for
Mhm.
FY '17, and we spent some good amount of time on the phone with the auditors today and to talk about fund balance.
Yeah.
And the unrestricted fund balance last year was .95 million, I wish, $950,000.
Say that again?
Last, FY '16.
Yeah.
Previous year, it was,
951,000.
yeah, 951,000. At the end of the year, last year, it was $1.42 million. Primarily having to do with lack of spending. We spent a lot less than we anticipated. Accounting for that carryover money of 96 or 97,000, should the board so choose, and we're recommending it, is to reduce the tax rate by as much as 200,000, I think we're looking at. You know, we have a fund balance policy of between 16 and 20% of yearly expenditures. And given that, I mean, there's an opportunity to save quite a bit of in taxes by virtue of bringing forward some money from unrestricted fund balance. Again, it's $1.4 million.
Which is our fund balance, that's everything, all the funds.
Yes,
So what percentage is that? Is that 20%?
27%.
So that's too high, actually.
Yeah, so we are very able to return money to the voters.
Is it
That's
better,
true.
is it better to do projects than have someone's taxes go down by $50 or $100 or to get some projects done?
Right, I mean, one thing we could, potentially should think about are capital reserve funds. And I don't know where they went, they used to have them here, I think, but, you know, put money away every year for paving, put money away every year for certain projects, so that, you know, they don't get done, you know, the money doesn't necessarily go away, or you can, on a very proactive basis, put money aside for certain capital projects in particular.
Well, one thing I think we should do is, we talked about theater, you know, that was
Mhm.
nearly $3 million. And already it's starting to show some wear and tear. The
Mhm.
seats, the roof is leaking. So I believe money should be put away for something like that, so we
Mhm.
don't have to spend another $3 million renovating it.
I think you'd have to, the voters at the town meeting would have to vote to establish a capital expenditure fund, a specific one for each type of thing, and, you know, put money into it. So to establish a fund and to raise and appropriate money to go into it. It could be to appropriate money from fund balance to go into it, so there's no tax impact on that. That's another way to do it.
Yeah, but the trustees did that last year, and they were told they had a lot of money in their fund balance, and then that went away. I don't know how that happened. The trustees
Well-
don't even know.
Well, I can't speak for what happened prior to my being here, but we spent a good long time with the auditors on the phone today, and there's a good amount of money in fund balance at this time. $1.4 million less we call it 1.3, because of the carry forwards. So it's,
And that's a total of 97-ish.
see again?
The carryover is how much, 97?
I can tell you
Something like
exactly.
that?
I just sent an email on
Right.
And
that.
that's fiscal year 2017.
96,380.
Yeah.
96,380. I mean, the other thing, by having such a large fund balance, it also shows we probably over budgeted over the past years in a lot of categories. And money's just gone into the fund balance from that.
Well, that was my point about bringing up, you know, for example, one thing here for the theater. How some of the things were just budgeted too heavily and then only about a third used, so.
And then
We
there's some
also had
things
an
that we
easy
under
winter
budgeted.
last year also.
True, but that wouldn't account for,
that
Well,
much.
there was, we underspent, but was it
$500,000.
$373,000 right out the chute.
Oh, yeah. The fund balance went up like $440,000, somewhere thereabout. The unassigned fund balance, the bulk of which was around 340,000 in under expenditures.
Even though we
And
did have
that's
the
where
hydro thing, the
what's
hydro
that?
expense.
Oh, yeah.
That's
That's
where the
true.
bulk of, we didn't spend as much money, I guess, on sidewalks.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I looked at the highway one, because that's, I think, where it showed up the most.
We got a lot of
It
that.
is, because we had money for paving and sidewalks that we didn't do anything with.
Right, and that's the money we brought forward into this current fiscal year. So that's the $96,000 that we're talking about, that we're lopping off of the $1.4 million.
And it was
That's what it
also,
is. So it's roughly 1.3 million.
And what about the hydro? Are we going to be, we're going to look at some big payment to them again?
There are discussions going on with them on settlement of not only past matters, but matters going forward.
So that's an unknown. Could be a big unknown,
It could be a very positive unknown.
right?
yeah, I mean, we don't want to get it too low in case of that, for sure, but, yeah, it seems like there's, like I said, there's a couple areas where maybe we've over budgeted certain budget lines that can be reduced as we're looking at this budget, and other areas where, or even under budgeted, like certain highway costs, highway
Mhm.
staff costs, sometimes it's much less than we budgeted for less, and it turns out to be more in some cases, so
Mhm.
depending on
Right.
the year. But
Can be
we kind of
crafty.
have to come up with and that's with that 5-year sheet that you gave us
Mhm.
with the, I mean, to help us come up with a more precise, well, it can never be precise, but a little bit more accurate number.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, we calculated, and these are approximate numbers. But if we look at the 16 to 20% range that we need to stay in, if we stay at 20%, we would have approximately $200,000 that we can carry over.
That's a
If-
conservative number.
Yeah, if we bring it down to 16%, which neither of us are recommending, because then we can easily fall below that range, 400,000 would be available.
Yeah,
Then
I
at
don't think so,
18% would be 300,000.
I mean, I think if we do that, I think it should definitely go into highway projects,
Yeah.
because that's where it came from, for the most part.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Is
pro-
the sidewalks, you know, I mean, some of that is carried over in the 97, but some of it isn't,
Mhm.
like, there was, I did a little spreadsheet here, so, like employee benefits, we had 60,000 extra in that for
Mhm.
whatever reason, and same with, things like lighting in some cases was 20,000 in one case. and-
Lighting?
Yeah, road maintenance. Administration was 30,000. Street signs, everything. Street signs and lighting, almost 28,000. Just between the fiscal year 17 and actuals and budget. And I guess, I mean, also when it comes to things like street signs, is if you're not replacing the roads, you're not paying the money on that street sign, so it's all related, right? If you're not doing that work, you're not spending the money on the signage that has to be done.
What are some, with highway, public safety issues? That's my big thing. That, you know, people would be put at danger if, you know, things weren't done correctly.
Well, I know we need to get the fog lines painted, that's an issue a lot of people talk to me about.
Okay.
By the time I got around to doing it, it was too late in the year. I'd like to do the Valley Road, Brockways, Parker Hill, 121 definitely. I don't know if we have enough budget to do all that.
Well, that's public safety, so.
Mhm.
That's one concern that a lot of people have approached me about, is getting the fog lines put back down.
Even driving in tonight, you know, was kind of,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, tricky.
One thing in my brief 2-week period here is downtown crossing the street. I hate to say, a lot of Vermont people don't like to slow down or stop when a pedestrian's in the walk. Maybe they can't see it, maybe
Well,
they don't
we've been
care.
talking about that for months.
Yeah.
But we also can't have the signs in the middle of the road anymore because it's
Not in the
winter time,
wintertime.
so
It happens
I
in
think
New
that
Hampshire,
was
too.
helping.
I don't know
What's
where
that?
we're at in our discussion, but
Yeah.
lights and visible sidewalks have been
Yeah.
talked about for quite a while.
You know,
I
some
know
of
one
it's.
thing
yeah.
that in Keene, the college, well, the city did it, but near the college, on the walkways or crosswalks, they have a button and a light flashing.
Mm.
There's only, I think, 2 of them in the high traffic area where they're going. Then Keene put walkways going down Main Street towards Lower Main Street. There's no lighting, you can't see, you know, where the stripes are or anything. And that's hazardous. But whether or not
Especially,
anything.
especially considering the roads that you're describing as being hazardous are about 4 to 4.5 times wider than Winchester Street, where you have all the high-tech protection buildup.
And it's very dark once you get down past Winchester Street Circle.
Well, I think we haven't really come to any decisions on what we're doing here.
I'm marking their code.
We talk about it and then
They're
Don't
every
do it.
TCD
not much
standard.
ever happens.
Mm.
Is there the fog lines, is that something that's like a 5-year, every
No,
3 years,
Depending on how they wear.
every couple of years?
Yeah. We haven't done it in a long time.
Nothing.
Should be done
So
every year.
that's one budget line maybe
Oh,
we
wait a
should
minute.
look at to see if that
It
needs to
should be done every year?
I mean, where needed.
It's never been done, right?
They haven't done it in a long time.
Since they did Parker Hill,
The new-
chip seal.
Right, Parker Hill hasn't been done since the chip
120.
seal. Brockway's Mills hasn't been done since the chip seal. Valley Road.
My question was just how long do we anticipate it to last?
I don't
No
know.
idea.
I don't know how they last. I honestly don't know.
When do they come up with a material that,
You would
like the
think.
stuff they put when it's hot and it seems to last a lot longer?
So what do we have in
Well,
that budget line?
They got a material you can put out, but it's very expensive. They use it on airport runways and roundabouts, and it's a machine alone's $25,000 just to apply it.
I mean, I would have to look at how much we spend all the time doing it, manpower,
Twice a year.
materials,
Twice a year we paint, in the spring and in
and then
the fall.
purchasing something that will last and be more effective.
Does that come under the budget line outside services roads, the fog line?
Yeah, fog lines, yes, yeah.
How much is
Because,
that?
well, I mean, we brought it down to 70,000 because we had we have that new, well, we should have that new vector truck
Yeah,
or whatever
I
that's
tried to
gonna.
find out some about that today, actually.
I don't think that thing paints
Anticipation of being
lines.
asked
No, I
tonight, but
know.
I couldn't find out anything.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I mean, that's why we brought it down
Yep,
to that,
yep.
thinking that we wouldn't
Yep.
need as many outside services.
Right.
But if we're gonna have to do more fog line painting, do we need to increase that budget line then?
But
It's at 70 now in the,
I thought he said it was time, not,
Hmm?
finance that they didn't get done, right?
Well,
Yeah, but if they haven't done it for years and years and years and years,
Or it's been
they don't
budgeted for
have,
years and years.
but they don't have time to do it, so that means they're probably having outside services done. Correct? No? I don't
But it
know.
hasn't been
Have to
done.
be. I know it has.
Yeah, that's a good amount. That should get
That's
a
a
lot,
good
that'll
enough?
get a lot done, yeah.
Okay.
That was my fault on the fog lines. By the time I called, it was too late, they were done for the year.
Yeah.
I had every intention of doing it, I didn't do it. I didn't
Well, it's
do
not
it.
like you didn't have anything else to do. Mike.
No. Yeah. I hate to use that as an excuse, but
Yeah, but-
things fall through the cracks.
No, I can understand that. All right, and so the big sort of budget item, highway, not big, but one of them is this question about the Public Works
Director.
Director. The problem, of course, is the village doesn't have the money to put in. And I don't know if they've looked any further into what,
Well, it's not that they necessarily don't have the money, and again, it's a utilities issue, not a general fund issue. One of the things that we're working on right now, Ron is working with this firm to do a several-year projection of cash flow and noting where we are with debt service, including the big bond that's hitting this year. What's it gonna look like over the next couple of years? And, we do have healthy fund balances in those utilities, but we need to make sure that what we have in so far as income is gonna work, given our debt service. So we are working on that, but there's not enough clarity in the numbers right now to make that determination. And, it could happen, through their budget, by the time we get into budget, we'll have that. I'm hoping to have something in the next couple of weeks to help the Board of Trustees make these decisions.
do we have the figures? I mean, having a Public Works Director and the benefits versus the engineering that we need him to do?
well, it depends on the
Yeah,
project.
I think we discussed that at
We
the
did.
Yeah, so-
previous meeting, and way I figured it was that there would be a net cost to the town
Mhm.
of $42,000. The personnel the personnel and other related cost was $56,000. That's, the individual, that's all the benefits, training, licenses, travel, all that. And then we in the budget are carrying a engineering savings of $14,000, net cost being $42,200,
So it would cost us 42,000.
an additional
Cost us a
42. So if the
Okay.
board wants to cut that position, 42 would come off the budget.
Which is basically a penny.
Well, didn't we also talk about with the bridges coming up that this employee wasn't,
Right.
we were still gonna have to pay for outside engineering
Yep. You will have
a
to.
substantial amount?
But then you'd have,
Need
he
somebody
would
for
be doing,
oversight.
yeah, he would be doing the oversight. He would be doing the bond, all of the RFPs, and he would be chasing, she, I should say,
Change orders, everything.
change orders and chasing down grants that are being left aside.
And that's just those projects. There's,
Right.
all the paving.
That's not the paving.
all
The culverts
it's
and
just-
paving, the
Yeah.
engineer could
Yeah.
do on their own.
Yep.
Some of
The
that on their
ditches, the
own.
erosion control, right-of-way access, what other permits? Overweight permits. He could be somebody that could pursue this snow through trucks through the screed at more time than I have, and I can't speak for the manager, but I'm sure more time than he has to pursue it. I'm sure there's models out there, other towns that have something. I threw it on a listserv, I didn't get a reply, so, just stuff like that.
So maybe
And
it's
as
a
I
question
stated-
of
I'm
timing.
sorry.
When we know that we're closer to getting the bridges done, we still have a lifespan. Maybe
Yeah.
they'll crash tomorrow, who knows,
You don't,
right?
right? We're gonna go right from one into another, I can see it.
But it sounds like for the Public Works Director position, it's more than just the two bridges.
Oh, yeah.
It's,
Oh, yeah.
so
So much
it's
more.
when we look at this report that comes in from,
Yeah.
and we have a projection of
That's
what
right.
projects are going
That's right. Somebody's gotta
forward in the
schedule
next
all
5 or
that.
10 years, then you make that decision, I
That's right.
think.
You need,
Right now, we haven't had a lot of money a lot of expenses in that line of engineering, because we haven't done any of these projects.
Right.
So, right now, it looks low, it is low. think it was only a
Yeah, and
few.
if we don't need it, we're not just gonna spend it. That's,
Right.
yeah, that's why last year's we barely spent anything on it, because we didn't need to at the time.
But, you know, we haven't really done it, I know you just said that, any projects, so we really have to do them before
We have
they
to do that.
starts becoming really dangerous.
I have a question. If it is decided that we have a sufficient need for a public works director and want to move forward, isn't it also an element of finding the right candidate for that position?
Well, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
So that's an element too, once we make the decision, how long it takes to advertise for, interview, select.
Well, if it gets approved in March, you hope to get someone in over the summer. You know, April, May, you get someone in June, July, or, excuse me, it has to be July.
What are we saying as a board? We want this position, or we don't?
Well,
We need to, we have like
That-
I mean,
one
I
more meeting
numbers.
before we.
I think personally, I think we missed out by not having that position. And I'm not, just to put it out there again, my brother was the former one. He's very happy in his current job. He is not looking to come back
Right.
to Rockingham.
Unfortunately, he's not.
So just to put that out there, that's not why I'm pushing for this permission.
What
It's just
does-
that I know we're missing out on grants that aren't getting done, where projects aren't being done, and we're falling behind.
This engineer, this position will write grants?
Yeah.
Like we talked about that
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
the last meeting too, with the people, there's
You'll find 'em
all
and
these
write 'em.
people
You'll find 'em and
upstairs
write 'em.
don't write.
there he is.
I mean, he's somebody would have scheduled the fog lines.
Yeah.
He would have scheduled, it would have got done.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Carrie?
And the total cost is how much? Not this 37, but it was,
40.
No, a net cost,
Well-
you know, there's that cost, plus there's the benefits and all that stuff. After subtracting 14,000, which we think we would save in engineering cost, the net's 42,000 and change.
and 14,000 engineering cost is based on Crystal Drive project.
Mm-mm.
No, I think.
No, it's
No, that's
anyone's-
not based on
Is-
any project. That's
is this
based
not-
on past history, I think.
What is it based on?
Based on, it's a guesstimate.
Just
It's a
random?
guesstimate without
So,
looking.
you know,
Without
without
looking at the actual projects we
specific
might do
projects,
this year?
Correct.
That's right.
That's why I think we really can't make a decision until we have a better sense of what the
How
project
can we make a
line
budget
is.
on what we're gonna fix if we don't have the projects?
Well, that's
we
what
don't know
this
what-
is. I mean,
Hmm?
we have it, it's in, but it just came in over the holiday weekend.
But it's also planning out future projects, like culvert projects. A lot of times,
And
if
then-
if you've got a project and you've got design, and a grant comes up and you've got something ready to go,
Right.
you can jump on.
I'm in favor of
Quick.
having this.
Carrie had a
Is
question,
this,
sorry.
is this
Right
number
now.
that the town is taking on this public works director, totally town? Because the
This
village
is the
has already
half, this is
said
the
no.
yeah, no, this is the 50% of the half. That's what I'm just saying,
So how
yeah.
can you
Well,
go out for a
So in
public works
fact,
director when the
this
village has
is
said
twice
we're
the
not
cost.
interested?
Well, they didn't vote it. I mean, it was pretty clear there was not interested.
It's pretty clear they're not interested.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's also the question is, yeah, it is the town, but
That's a pretty.
perhaps they're, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm
Maybe you
just
should look
putting
at it totally town paid if
Exactly.
it's
I
gonna
mean,
go
it could-
forward.
It could be totally town paid as an option too,
Because
which is
the
doubling
village
that
has
42.
said- And then,
Which is 2 cents on the tax.
What would the value of a public works director be, though, if he was totally committed to the town? Would you actually draw boundaries about what he could address and what he couldn't?
Yeah, I mean, that's something we've been talking about, because we have,
You know.
Pepper does.
The bridges are all in the village, right?
And, you know, he really shouldn't be doing any work over at the police and fire facility. But he does on occasion.
Yeah.
And same time, the police and fire help out the town with some stuff, like, you know, trucks and things of that nature. So it kind of one hand washes the other. But if the town was clearly paying all of that funding for that position, in my opinion, they should not be doing anything related to the village, if the village does not want
Oh.
to participate.
Of course.
That doesn't sound very divisive, does it?
No, of course not. Never not around here.
Well, I mean, you could always, if the village needs an engineer for something, they could hire our,
Right, well, we
Our
thought
public
about, you know,
works
should we
person.
be billing the village for Pepper's time over there helping out with the fire alarm system? And probably, yeah, but it's also probably more trouble than it's worth doing. But it's one of those things that given what we've got as a municipal government, all the departments really work well together. You don't want to alienate one from another.
You know, if we really started doing stuff like that, the village would be meeting at the fire station, not at the town hall. So that type of stuff is very annoying to me. This is one community.
That's
Help each
exact-
other out.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it just drives me nuts.
I just brought it up over dollars and cents.
No, I know, but, you know.
I have a question about this, this other big line item here, the 10-wheeler. That's in this. Was that in a 5-year plan? How did that come up that it's in this year's budget to replace a 2011?
It had been in the plan, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's gonna be financed, I have no idea.
What plan?
In the equipment replacement
Equipment
schedule.
replacement schedule, which we haven't seen recently. Where is that? You can get that for the next time.
I don't know. We'll jump on that.
And that's the
Yeah,
number
next
for
time.
the purchase of the
You
vehicle?
must have
Yeah.
that.
It's a net cost.
$490. 165 net.
Is that to be voted on at town meeting?
It was 490.
Like we did one year?
The equipment?
I'm a little confused.
We voted on a 10-wheeler at town meeting one year.
What page you on? I'm sorry.
Well, I believe
Yeah,
it's
we have to,
29.
because it's over. Well, that would have to be a separate article, right?
Oh.
And raises that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's less trade-in, that's without the trade-in.
Well, that 490 also includes, if you go to the notes, that's the if you, FY 19, 2011, 10-wheeler, replace,
Mhm.
165 net price after trade, and go down a line or two, plus 325 for the Vector truck, all but 65 offset by grant.
All but 65 of
Thousand.
that.
For the Vector truck.
Right,
Oh.
so this is the capital outlay, that's the purchase. That's the expense, but we have revenue coming in. If you go to the top of that page, 340 grand, excuse me, total income, 340,000. So yeah, that truck, we carry, the net expense of that truck is 165,000. The Vector truck is 325, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So what does that truck do? Can you use that on all the roads? That
The Vector
10-wheeler?
truck?
No, the 10-wheeler.
Who,
Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead.
who does the vehicle purchasing plan that I've seen one time since I've been here? Who's in charge?
Used to be a public works
Used to
director.
be a-
2011 is typical to replace that?
Well, we're
I'm all about
We're
making
trying-
sure you guys have good equipment, but I'm on
you know, I understand.
about saving
I'll
some
try
money.
to
That's a
explain to
lot of
you.
money. We're
When I-
possibly not hiring someone who
Right.
could do a lot of work to help your services because we may not be able to afford it.
That's right.
So go ahead, I'm sorry.
So, 15 years ago, we had a bunch of junk, I don't mind telling you. You all know it. Our equipment budget was 165,000 and going up every year. So in 2008, we began replacing the fleet, which that truck is being replaced in this budget year currently when I get the time to get the bid out and whatnot. But anyway, so the 2011 is the next one in line to try and stay with the 5-year plan. Well, we're not staying with it. We're close, but we're not there yet. So we're trying to stay within the warranty, so to keep the parts budget down, everything's covered under warranty. And so, I mean, that's what we're trying to do. Do I need?
So that vehicle was maintained essentially under a lease agreement?
I don't know.
Or you
what-
guys
It was
doing-
purchased.
That was purchased.
It was purchased.
But it's
Yeah.
still, when's the warranty out on that, do we know?
It's out now.
Oh, it's out now.
Yeah, 5 years it's gone.
Yeah.
So that's why it's starting to incur some cost. I was questioned, I think it was $10,000 expenditure on that truck. Well, a third of that is tires and some chains. Another one is a bed chain, which was $1,400, and the rest of it is radiator, other related maintenance issues, so. It had a lot of radiator, trucks had 11 radiators put in it until they engineered something different, made a retro fit kit, and now we haven't had any problems with it. We're just trying to stay with that 5-year plan to keep costs down in the equipment
Under warranty.
budget, and everything's covered under warranty, except tires, of course, tires and brakes, like anything else. Does the truck need to be replaced? I hate to say it, and someone's gonna kill me for saying it, but no, it doesn't. But to try and stay with a 5-year turnaround,
We would put 1,000,000 miles on that truck.
it's got 100,000 on it right now.
100,000?
Yeah.
And we just put how much into it?
Oh, I don't know what it was, Shane.
Good amount of money.
Yeah, it was a
Just-
good amount of money.
Whose decision is it ultimately to, is it too late to not
What's the voters?
trade the
Yeah,
thing?
well, it's
in?
voter, I mean, that would go
If
as
it's
a
in good
separate,
shape, we take care of it, we just fixed it?
that would go as a separate,
But-
warning.
But here again, we're doing the same thing we've done with our roads.
Yeah.
Well,
We let the roads go and
it
then.
would free up a little money for this department
Yeah.
to get someone in who could possibly get us more
Yeah,
money.
you're right.
There's one thing it's most concerning to me is the condition of our roads and
Next year, I'll tell you right now, next year I'm gonna come after you for a backhoe. We need a backhoe.
so we don't need,
Are you saying I can, ask me if I can make it last another year or two? Yeah, probably I can. But it's gonna start costing you money. It's
need a-
municipal life is running out because it's a daily run. It runs day in, day out. So,
Do we need a backhoe more than we need that truck? Can we switch those around? You said you really need a backhoe.
we're gonna need one, yes. Yeah, that's starting to cost us money.
It's
I
a
think we
lot
just
more
put
than-
$4,000 into it.
How much is a backhoe?
I have no idea.
But more than a
Probably
10-wheeler?
Probably about the same cost, on or about.
Would it make more sense to get the backhoe first?
I mean, it would. Here again, I'm trying to keep the fleet in that 5-year plan, so we can rotate them in and out, and then they're worth something. Like this truck we're replacing this year, they're gonna give us between $25,000 and $30,000 trade-in. The one that we're replacing in this budget year, the 6-wheeler, the 2008, just started off the truck replacement. That one's we're 9 years into it, so, we're not quite there yet.
But you just said we're not at the point where we need to replace the 10-wheeler. But you really would like to replace the backhoe, which we really need.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, could you switch that around?
We can.
I
That's
think
up
he
to you.
said next year, he was
That's
gonna
up to
ask
you.
for
Yeah, I know, but that's
backhoe.
what
So what
he
I'm
really-
trying to do is save some money where we can. If we can get through, that's my question. I'm not trying to spend the money on something
No,
else.
no, I know, but I'm saying if
Except-
he really needs it. So to me, it's like what breaks down? If something is close to breaking down, like a backhoe, right? Because we have other trucks. I'm not trying to spend money either,
I know
but
what you're saying.
once again, if we have something, that happens,
Just-
we need a backhoe more than a.
I'm trying to stay within the fleet replacement plan, that 5 to 7 year plan is what I'm trying to stay with.
Mike, if you had to wait another year to get the trade-in on the truck, would the value be less?
I don't know. That I can't answer. I don't know.
But then, yeah,
It'll
we're
have more
1 year.
miles on it.
Right. It depends
And we're
on-
1 more year out of that plan, because then if you don't switch the backhoe with the truck, then we're actually,
That much further
you're
behind.
much further behind, and that's how we
Same thing
got
we're
to
doing
this
with our
place
roads.
That's
before.
why you put the plan together.
That's why the plan was
and
in
you stick
place.
with it.
Right. Yeah, we had,
I'm just asking questions, and it appears that it may in fact not need to be replaced, but we're doing it because of some plan.
yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you and say it needs
If
to be
you
replaced.
maintain these things, they'll run forever. They'll run quite a while.
I always channel town meeting and the questions people will ask, and that's the question they'll ask. So,
I know it is. They're
Right.
asking.
not even as
I'm just trying to
politely.
keep costs down.
Yep. All right, so there are other questions while we have Mike in the room? I don't want to keep him here. He's been working so
Getting
hard.
cold.
He's getting cold and it's gonna snow tomorrow, so.
And it's freezing in
Thursday
here.
it's gonna snow.
Oh, snow, oh, not tomorrow. Well, they said tonight too. But are there other?
Any culverts that need to be replaced that are,
Always.
We flushed a bunch of them this fall. A lot of them.
So are we putting out bids for this stretch of road soon? Or when does that have
Yeah,
to
we
happen?
gotta talk about that.
January, February.
First of the month, I'd like to see it get out.
First of February.
A few changes to it.
Yeah.
I've already had pavers ask me when it's coming out, so sooner than later.
But as part of that, we need to talk about how to handle sidewalks.
Yeah.
Put it all out in a single
Yeah.
bid,
Yeah.
so we've got some internal work to deal with on that.
That's typically when the pavers,
But that's on the radar, so we don't
yeah.
miss the.
Yep.
And we got a bunch of projects to do. Along with that, we've got the, that hydrant at the Memorial Park.
So,
Yeah.
The
I don't know,
hydrant?
I mean, would it be more beneficial, like, I'm interested in getting some personnel that would help with this whole process, which is, seems like
As am I.
a good way to spend money. And if we can save some money somewhere else to make something that's gonna make things go smoother, less work for you and your staff, and essentially bring more money in with grants, then
Mhm.
we should be pursuing that.
Oh, yeah.
The
But-
question is, are we gonna pursue it as 100% of our costs? Because it sounds like we have to.
Well,
If we
the
do,
projects we talk about are 100% our cost, so the village, you know, they need an engineer, we subcontract, I don't know how it works, but I'm looking at what we have to do and the cost and the helpfulness essentially of having this person with all these projects. And
I think if we decide that
if you
it's
save
something
some
that we
here and
need,
spend some there,
the sooner we begin the process, the better.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because we know what happens.
Yeah, yeah. 'Cause-
well, it's twice that cost. It's not
Twice that
that number's not correct. So if we can save some money,
Elsewhere.
I'm just saying, if we begin the process at some point and we acquire the Public Works Director too late in the year, that's consideration too.
we have to have the funding before we can.
Yeah, which we won't get until.
Yeah, well,
July
another
1.
thing that, from a staffing standpoint, is that, one of the things we do is, I mentioned Pepper before, he does building maintenance, and he's a highway worker.
He does a lot.
Yeah, there's a heck of a lot, and at this time of year,
Yeah.
you need them, and also this time of year, because of
Everybody needs
the
'em.
physical plan of this building, we need them, everybody else needs them, so it's something to think about longer term is building maintenance, and that's,
Yeah.
we're shortchanging our buildings right now.
The only time I get Pepper, really, is I need him to plow. I don't schedule him in the summer. He has a list a mile long every day.
Yeah.
So that 4-man crew's down to 3 men.
Well, we also looked at that, where's that sheet, the 5-year. And again, this could be reflected on, we didn't have such bad winters and whatnot, but when road crew wages, we have the budget 2013, and of course, salary costs are gone too, but anyway, there was 20,000 that was in the budget that wasn't spent. 14, there was almost 40,000 that wasn't spent. 15, there was 20,000.
Road crew
that was-
wages?
Yeah, road crew wages.
10,000.
40,000 in phys 16. I'm just guessing. And 10,000 in 17. But so the average over 5 years was about 465,000. And we have put in for this year, what? I don't remember.
Wages?
I mean, we almost were 40,000.
Over?
Over. I did it.
That'd be nice.
But again, it's hard to, make precise conclusions on that because it does depend a lot on overtime and years. I mean, snow, right? So, all right, so, where are we? Town mechanic, highway department personnel wages. So over the 5 years, the average was 498,089. And the average, just for the past 2 years, if you figure that's more reflective, it's 470,000. And we have in that budget line,
The average actual
yes, average of the actual spend.
was how much?
For over 5 years,
It's lower than 498.
498,09.
No, that's the actual 2017 ad number.
I might have transposed
The
two
actual
numbers.
16, 15, 14, 13 were
That's the-
roughly $40,000 less.
Roughly $40,000, yes. I think I transposed the number there. Anyhow, what I'm saying is, what is the line for that? What is we have in the budget line there right now, wages crew? we have 496,
Right.
and the average has been closer to 470. But anyway, that's just one example, I mean, over 2 years. That's just an example where there's $26,000 extra put into that budget line. And that happens in every budget line in a lot of cases. Whereas, supervisor's salary is the opposite. We budgeted less than what actually we pay out. So it's not, doesn't always even out,
Mhm.
but.
Right.
So there might be other savings there that we have for another person to hire to do that, the maintenance stuff that has to be done. It's actually already in the budget, we don't have to add to it because we've been under budgeted for so long.
Mhm.
I mean, not spending as much, it's in the budget.
Right, we would have to reallocate it around because some of it's, well, most of it's not highway. And some of it is, when you're working on a highway building, that's highway. Otherwise, when he's working here, it's still being billed, it's being charged to the highways, and it shouldn't be. It should be
Yeah.
charged to the town hall.
But the same for the public works person, I mean, if that's, it's money that's in, because it also then, if you're not spending out that much money, you're not spending out as much that's budgeted for
Mhm.
our benefits.
Mhm. Yeah,
So there might, I think there's more savings that we haven't, it's not reflected
If you were
here.
to put a building maintenance person in, you'd have to hire another highway person also,
Absolutely.
Right.
because that would be taking away a guy from highway.
Right.
So if
So the
you
net
were to, like,
impact is
transfer Pepper over to
Right, the net
full-time.
impact is one person.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Plus a public works director if you do that,
Right.
100%.
That's two.
Right.
So you would have to put salary.
Give Pepper his
benefits in.
engineering degree and
Yeah.
there we go.
He's smart enough to do it.
But it's
So how do we
true,
do-
I
how do
send-
we-
I send tasks to Pepper daily for buildings.
Mhm.
Like what? What are the tasks?
Oh,
he,
Everything.
everything.
yes, the heat's not working.
3 times a week.
There's something
Heat.
wrong with the roof at the library, the
Roofs,
door's
mosquito.
sticking at the library,
Mosquito.
there's, Waypoint Center has a fire.
Yeah,
You
little
know.
things.
Yeah.
It's just, the rec center, there's tons in the summer up
Oh,
there. It's just constant,
The savings
all the time.
he produced for us, he and the rest of the highway guys doing the work up at the rec center this
Mhm.
year with the leaking water supply piping and fixing all that, and all the concrete saved us tens of thousands of dollars. Easily.
Was that a waste of his talents doing these small?
No.
No.
No, he's valuable.
You need somebody to do
It's
them.
not small.
No, I mean, you know what I mean.
Technical.
Huh?
Because usually
It's
we have to
technical work,
call
it's not-
plumbers or
That's right.
electricians or, for these things that he takes care of.
Yeah, and he knows his limits, he won't do things that
Yep.
he's not qualified to do.
I was gonna ask that, like electrical.
Well,
Oh,
is-
yeah, he won't
Oh,
if
yeah.
he can't. He
Is
doesn't.
this something then that you need to, all the different, like we have the playground, or we have the recreation department budget in there, and also in that, we've over budgeted for staff costs by almost 20,000, I think. And it could just be, I don't know, there was a bad summer.
It was.
So, but it's over a period of 5 years, several years, not just 1 year, but,
Mhm.
I think that's what we need, is a better understanding of actual costs. Because what happens is every year we roll over, we level fund, but you're level funding something that you're not even spending, and that's why we have 1.4 million in our fund balance.
Well, I think now with the finance director, someone dedicated to just doing the finance work, for at least for next year, it'll be easier, I think, to go and drill into those numbers over the past years. But given this past year, it just hasn't been possible to in the preparation of this budget.
So we have to
Well,
make decisions now.
we-
Are we increasing our tax rate in order to
Don't we
add
still
these
have time
positions?
to do this?
Well, we do have 2 weeks.
We still have time, we go back
2
and,
weeks.
and do the actual, rather than what we've always budgeted. Get your, averages from actual spending.
Well, I think
We
you
did
could
that,
do
yeah.
it, it's,
We did it.
it's-
Well,
We
some
we
are,
did for
and some aren't. There's a lot, like she just said, some are and some aren't.
Well, I went through and I kind of highlighted the areas where I saw, by looking at the last 2 reports, I think it was fiscal year, what are we now, so it was, must have been 16, 17, no, 15, 16, and 17. And I just highlighted the areas where it seemed like we always were over budgeted in these categories. And it adds up over time, obviously. I mean, we don't want to get to a point where we put our fund balance in danger, but there's got to be a balance between where we can cut, or just maybe not cut, but reallocate that tax money for something that we need, in desperate need of, which is a public works person. So that it's not a big jump up in people's taxes to put in someone, they're paying it, they've already paid this money, it's just not being spent the way it should be.
Well, I
Or
cer-
not being spent because it doesn't need to be spent, because it's been over budgeted.
Right, well, we can still, I mean, if we, I mean, just without, I'm not saying this should happen, but without even changing the budget, if we put that $200,000, it would be a 2.5% increase in the taxes, given the existing budget right now, and applying $200,000 to a fund balance.
I could, between now and the next meeting, I can try to put together, at least a 3-year average, in Excel, so you can
Yeah.
really work with it. Budget versus actual for 15, 16, 17, and 18 year-to-date. Although 18 year-to-date,
It's only half,
It's only half a year.
50% at that point.
Yeah, it's not useful.
In Excel, so we could view it and not get a new stack of papers each?
yeah. We just have to, we can download into Excel out
Can
of
download it,
memory.
so.
So we just have to,
Fine.
It has to be reformatted, though.
Oh,
That's the
yeah.
whole issue. You have to reformat the whole shebang once you do it.
but,
But I mean, I actually did that with just the highway department today. I put the PDF into something that I could read and cut and paste into it, so I could try to play around with numbers and, but
Well,
it's.
I've got the budget in Excel from last year's town report.
And the reports before that too?
I have every town report for 16 years, if you're interested, Susan.
That's right, yeah.
No, I don't think we have to go back that far.
Because I have to
But I'm just
reformat it
saying,
in
we.
Excel
No, I
every
do.
year.
I mean, it's one thing to look at just what happened last year. I mean, you really have to look at a larger time frame, and especially when it comes to highway, because it fluctuates so much over the years. You really have to come up with a decent, good estimate of
Mhm.
Do we,
Of these
do we,
expenses.
do we think we can do that? Like, a lot of this stuff seems, we could sharpen our pencil, so to speak, and come back with some possibly more accurate numbers, which could benefit the budget. Like, it's continuing
Well, I
to go
can
up, and we don't even know if we're gonna spend it, but we're putting it.
I can certainly prepare that schedule, and I'm assuming, send it out to the board
Mhm.
before the next meeting. That way you do have a chance to, look at some of those
Right,
numbers.
we just have done. But yeah, you could manipulate it if you wanted to, but we could also, you can prepare it so that it includes the amount of change, the percent change, that's easy to do. It could be a very, very large spreadsheet, but.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's also some things that, like for instance, I just read today that 5% increase in our electrical charges. So I don't know whether that's reflected. I think we're okay, just because that was another area that we were over budgeted in. We had money in the electric costs that wasn't being spent, so I think we're okay, but we really need to work with more of the real, actual expenses as opposed to what was budgeted every year in this category. But without getting us to the point where we do impact the fund balance, because it's important to have, you don't want to spend everything that's budgeted ideally, because you do want to have some fund balance.
You mentioned you thought we needed schedule another meeting before the select board meeting.
You may
We
need to.
have to.
Yeah,
Have
so.
another budget meeting, someplace where it's warm would be nice.
I mean,
This is warm.
Florida? Florida.
I'm thinking, in the finance office.
Yeah, that might be a good idea to do that after you have a chance, and then we can sit with that Excel spreadsheet
Mhm.
as well.
I know it's been a rough year, certainly for Shane, and trying to get the finance, get the budget done and everything, but my philosophy for a budget.
I can't hear.
Hey, I got my jacket, so.
Gold, it's cold
LLB.
outside.
Um,
We need light.
But my philosophy on a budget is you don't necessarily start at zero, but you don't take last year's budget at 3%.
Right.
Right.
You know, you do, and you put more responsibility on the department heads. Okay, it's their budget. And, you know, I mean, like on a highway, who better knows
Yeah.
the usage, the costs, and so forth, than, you know, what, and I'm not faulting you.
Well, in
Shane.
fact, the departments were, and they did prepare information.
Okay.
So,
Well, all
know that.
departments really should have, you know, prepare their numbers. Finance typically would calculate personnel costs
That's what
and
happened.
budgets and so forth,
Yeah.
based upon, is there going to be a 2% increase or something?
That's what happened.
Yeah.
But there's also, I mean, the department heads don't have time to sit down and like, okay, did we spend, you know, for the past 5 years, was this budget,
Right.
you know, to compare year to year the budget, and it's not something that they are going to.
But they
do.
can work on the high dollar items.
Yeah,
And, I mean, let's face it, there's gonna be some smaller dollar items that, what did we budget last year?
yeah.
So,
And that's what's been happening, is we carry that over and over from year to year, and you're only spending half of it, and when you have however many budget lines where you're only spending half, it adds up.
You know,
And we're looking for every penny we
Yeah.
can save on people's tax rates.
and I think this could be a start where you do make those cuts. You know, if we show X, you know, line X was underspent for the last 5 years by $10,000 each year,
Got it?
yeah, unless there's a reason for that, like, okay, maintenance was pushed off for 5 years.
Right, yeah,
You
exactly.
know, but if it's a normal,
And one of the things particularly with highway is that you don't know
I'm
what
not
normal
picking-
means.
Yeah.
Well, that's true,
And
that's
you
the
need to,
problem.
you need to plan for the possibility that something really bad is not, I mean, things are not gonna be good. Running out of salt, running out of items, vehicles breaking down. You need to be able to budget and prepare for that. While you need to budget reasonable in every way,
But it-
there are some things that you need to be, you know, putting here so that in case something bad happens,
No, I can-
you're
I can
not.
understand
It
that.
doesn't seem
Trouble.
like those line items were incorrect. Like, it seems like we're under budgeting for sand and salt.
Hmm.
And we did talk about
Those are
that.
not two items in that I think we're speaking of. I think there's lots of other items that could be more accurately placed in here.
And he did say, because, you know, he listens to the Weather Channel too, probably the older you get, the more you watch it, is, you
That's all
know,
I watch.
the prediction of what the winter is going to be like, so then you do accordingly. I think we need to trust, you know, when I first got on the board, I was told, just assume that everyone's going to raise their budget by 15%, so you cut by 15%. So,
that may not be the case.
Yeah, no.
you know, I never believed that, so.
But yeah, I mean, ideally, I would like to see if we can trim the budget where it can be trimmed, because we
Mhm.
have been overestimating or over budgeting just because of years in the past. Not necessarily, I mean, in some cases you might be reducing the tax rate, in other ways you're using those savings to put in what we really need, which is more money for the roads, more money for sidewalks, public work person.
Okay, so on a 5-year average, 3 at least, if we have
Three
time to go
might-
back.
yeah.
15, 16, 17. Do you want to see just 2 columns each year, budget and actual? Or
Yeah.
do you need a third column that says over, under
Yes.
the dollar amount? you just have to realize, more
Actual.
columns per year, but a budget, actual, and a variance for 3 years is not going to be a huge spreadsheet.
Well, what we can also do is include those and just hide them, so if you want to see them, just unhide the column.
I think it would be helpful to have that.
Okay, so I'll make it a 3-column. You don't need percentages, do you?
By looking, we save
Well,
essentially
it
$26,000.
can't hurt to, it's easy to do it.
One item.
Couldn't you just
Actually,
highlight the
I've-
stuff that you underspent? Couldn't you just,
Yeah, I can do it.
Yeah,
Just highlight it
I've got a
and you know.
format that
You
we
don't
did
have
for
to
the village
actually
budget.
subtract
We
it
had
out.
time to do it at that point, so it's a good model to use.
Yeah, I think that'll be helpful, just because that, I mean, what did you say? 7 cents, I forget now. What was
7.
your estimate at this point?
For,
Increase, 7 cents.
it was 7 cents, if we apply it goes to 2.5 cents if we apply $200,000 to it. If
Yeah,
we use
Rick.
fund balance of
No,
200,000, we
sorry.
go to, the increase would be 2.6 cents. Not percent, cents.
Sorry, Ron.
Yeah, I was a selectman in Marlow, New Hampshire for 14 years. And we tried to keep the tax rate, as steady as we can. Level, yes. But the minute you go down, the following year, not only do you have increased costs, you gotta make up that 200. So your suggestion earlier about maybe putting into capital reserves and start building for, let's say that truck has to be.
Used to have all that.
Yeah.
And that
I mean,
truck does
you
die.
can put, it doesn't even have to be a whole lot of money, but
Yep.
you start.
Right, I've seen situations where there was a truck fund, a truck got total, insurance only covered a certain portion of it. So you need to buy a new truck, and so you can dig into take money from that reserve fund.
I personally would much rather say put that in the reserve fund, but at the same time, see where we can
Oh,
cut that number down, so
realize
it's not a
that.
7 cents. Yeah, and I think we can. I mean, we're not gonna get it down probably as much as we would like to do the things we need to do, but get it down. from
Well, at
7.
least we can see, okay, we can comfortably cut the budget $150,000. I'm just throwing a number out. Now you have $150,000 to apply to projects that have been pushed off, and that will only cost more as we go down the road. But, so I'll put this together, and at least it'll give the board information, and you can manipulate those numbers. Now, does everybody want electronic version of this? Okay, I'll just need.
Send it out to the same thing. to
Something
everybody.
that's in one place. I have about 6 of these with asterisks and notes on all of them. And it's,
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, this will be one work.
Excel.
so it
Excel.
won't have notes on it.
Wouldn't
Yes,
have
you
notes.
can
We
input-
can go back to
Well,
our
we can-
original.
we-
We
yeah.
can go back to our original paperwork for the notes on the various budget lines.
I mean, some of my own asterisks.
And I-
try to keep up. Then I get a new one to look back.
And I'll, send out the first draft, and if you see something more you want done or changed, it's easy enough.
So
What about the
it'd be-
education tax too? That's gonna go up 9 cents.
It's out of our control.
Yep.
No, I know that is, but that does add to, that is a tax bill, 61%
Do you got any
of.
more questions on the highway? While
Yeah,
we
I know,
keep
poor
Mike
Mike's
here?
gotta go home.
Oh,
Anyone,
Mike.
good question.
I'm good.
Yeah, any more questions for Mike?
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks.
Happy New Year. Stay warm.
Thank you.
You too.
Just my kids complain the house is cold.
I gotta go home, wake up my wife.
Yeah, you
so
have
she
to
can
go too.
work.
I know that, so,
I got a few more minutes.
okay.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Yeah, because we really have to, it sounds like we might need to schedule another meeting in a warm place.
Just budget.
Just budget, after you've had a chance to produce these reports.
This doesn't have anything on it, 'cause I didn't transfer all my meetings and stuff.
Are daytimes available for anyone here?
Yes.
Yes, for you? I know it's not for Stefan, but daytime is available, or
Probably any day but Friday.
any day but Friday?
Mhm.
And only because it would probably be, if we could keep it as close to normal working hours or just after
Well, if
5
we're
o'clock
meeting-
even.
Yeah, if we're meeting during the day and it happens to be in the finance office, you're gonna have people coming and going.
Or you can go on
Why
the
not
third
third
floor.
floor?
Third floor.
Yeah, third
You
floor.
can turn the heat on.
Yeah, we can keep going. That's a good way.
Or we could do it for Stefan, might be able to get here at 5, just do it from 5.
Mhm.
I haven't seen him.
Hmm?
I haven't seen him at the last 3 meetings.
Busy time, I guess.
Retiring?
What's that?
What'd you
I
say?
think it's a busy time over the Whalen.
So do we want to set it at like a 5 o'clock?
We could.
What day?
You gotta give Ron
Sure.
time to do this.
We have to give Ron time to do this.
Yep.
Thinking sometime next week.
Mhm.
Monday?
Hmm?
Monday give you enough time? No?
The 8th?
No, or we're gonna be here, how quick is our, I don't know how, we are here for a joint board anyhow.
And we have trustees meeting that night too, at 6, so
Wednesdays are always fairly
Wednesday,
easy, right?
the 10th?
I'm not sure about Chuck's meeting.
Something's going on the 10th.
They meet, you meet on the planning commission?
Yes,
So
They're not
Monday,
until
Wednesday, or
7, right?
Thursday next week?
but I don't know if we have another one till later.
I think
I mean,
it's 7.
I can
Okay.
try to have everything ready for Monday. I just have that RCAP
That's kind of a
analysis
priority.
too.
You got a lot of priorities. Yeah, these two are priorities, clearly.
Well, maybe, I mean,
Concentrate on that.
it doesn't
10th?
have to be Monday, I think we could do Wednesday or
The 10th?
Thursday. 10th or the 11th?
Which is,
Wednesday.
Wednesday, you said Wednesday the 3rd, well, it's after 5 o'clock, we could do it
I can't.
downstairs.
there's no heat.
No, not here.
Oh,
After
at
5 o'clock,
in
we
the
could do it.
Finance office.
We could do it in the
Yes.
finance office. Or
We're
in the-
crowded in there.
Or we could do it outside in the
Town
town
clerk's
clerk's
office?
office.
The
Town
10th?
clerk's office.
They don't have any room in there.
What day are they talking?
Isn't there a
Well,
table?
if they're out. We've had
It's full
meetings
of
here.
computers.
Oh.
I mean, the finance office
Say,
table
what
has
works
more
for you?
room
What's
than
up
the
for you?
other.
Wednesdays do not.
Wednesday's not good. 11th?
Thursday?
That would work. Wednesday evenings don't work. Wednesday day.
evenings don't work.
All right, because you have that Saxon's River.
11th?
Yeah?
Is that, what day is that?
That's a Thursday, 5 o'clock? Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
11th?
All right.
3rd floor?
5 o'clock?
Depends on if Chuck has a meeting or not.
But
There's-
his meetings are later, right?
You're not gonna be done by 7.
We're going to meet at 5.
Right. Think you're gonna be in 2 hours, be done?
Yeah.
These meetings are at 7, you'd have to be done by 4:15 anyway.
We can do that 2 hours.
You're gonna go through the entire budget?
Well,
Cool.
we'll end up repeating it, I mean, doing what we can't do on the 16th.
2 hours is a good amount of time if that's
I
what
think
we're
if we
working
have
on.
that, once that
Yeah.
Yeah.
information right in front of us, it's pretty quick, because right now, we're just sort of like,
Flailing.
yeah. It's
I
like,
mean, even
it's
if
always
I-
been $10,000, let's leave it at 10,000. Well,
Exactly.
we only
Everyone
spent
bring their-
5,000, so why leave it at 10? So we can make those decisions pretty quickly, once we have
Even
it.
if I have it ready for Monday,
We can,
it gives you time, a few, 2-3 days to really go over it yourself.
yeah, and highlight the points that we
Yep.
really want to feel like we can make some changes on.
Mhm.
And look back at our notes, and make sure we bring our notes and edits and
So we'll
suggestions.
aim towards sending it out in the
Monday.
evening, afternoon or evening of Monday.
Okay,
Shouldn't be too hard.
Okay.
all right, thank you.
I gotta
You've
head
gotta
if
run.
you don't mind.
Nope, I know
Excuse
you've
me.
got to run, so.
Night.
Are there any other, do we want to even bother trying at this point? It really doesn't make much sense if we're gonna,
Uh-oh.
oh, you gotta run now too?
Just tell us where it is.
I go down.
And then there were none.
Oh, no wonder my dog is so fat.
You're commenting on that?
My mother's feeding her dog, and she shouldn't be feeding the dog.
Oh.
Are you off?
I should go. Are we almost done?
I think the rest of this we can
Wait on.
wait on when we get the numbers where we can just make some of those hard decisions that we have to make.
Anyway, on the revenue side, based upon the audit from last year, it's good news.
That is good news.
Really good.
You said you're gonna send us a copy of the audit?
Well, it's still in draft.
Right.
We're kind of going over it, and what's this, what's that, and we could send you the draft if you want, but you're better off, in my opinion, you're much better off seeing the final. Because there's things like the fund, the $96,000 isn't addressed in the audit, that, to reduce the unfunded, the budget surplus. It's not direct deduction from that, so there's a lot of things in there that need to be fixed before it gets done. It's not a good explanation necessarily of the hydro
Thanks.
issue. Thank you. The issue of the hydro repavement. We want to make sure that it's a good snapshot of what actually happened. But anybody wants to see it, I'm happy to share it.
Okay, well, we're not done. We have stuff
I know.
almost done, but, all right, so timeline, just to go over that timeline again, Carrie. Our next meeting, we have to adopt the budget. 18th, last day to receive petitions, articles for town meeting warning. The 28th, town report to printer. Last day to print, post the warning. So the warning that we discussed, we also really only have January 4th, what day is that? It's not Tuesday, is it?
What's that?
What, January what?
4th.
February 4th.
I mean, February 4th, sorry.
It is a Sunday.
Okay, so we have to do it on that,
The warning has to
or
be
we have to have a
posted.
special meeting after the 16th, because we have to post the warning by February 4th.
Yes.
But that would be
It has to
February
be the
5th.
same, well, really, you have to have a warning by the 28th, right? Because it has to go to the printer.
Oh, the town, yeah, has to go to the printer. So if we don't finalize everything on our next meeting, we're going to have another special meeting.
I thought you did the town report, you printed the town report.
I don't know. Have it anymore.
Oh, you haven't?
I used to have it printed and then we put it together
Mhm.
ourselves. We haven't done that in years, several
Okay.
years. It's got to be too much.
Okay.
Okay. So anything else on the budget before we move on? Review overtime comp time report. Is that in here? Yes, it is. Child files. Winter storm, basically. Review agenda items for next meeting. It's pretty much gonna be budget, I think. Anything that you can think of, Cass? Ann?
I always felt, and we never do it, because I mentioned it about getting, our two reps, Carolyn and Matthew, in here, so we could talk about what they see coming. There's already several bills that they're looking at, and we don't know how that impacts what we do here.
When do they start? The end of the month?
January.
I would say get them sometime in February before town meeting.
No, I think we should have them in here before they go up. See if they can come.
I mean, is that
Not
hard?
at a budget meeting, but,
That's all you.
yeah, you said February, so I guess, yeah.
First
I know.
meeting in February, maybe?
Yeah.
in your-
Or joint meet, I mean, if it affects the town, it'd be the joint meeting at the end of January. We could do the joint meeting.
By the 8th.
Aren't you looking at bills that they have up there
Yeah.
during the sessions?
Yeah. Joint meeting?
Yeah.
That's not on here. That's what, the end of January, right?
That's January 30th.
January 30th.
So I'm seeing Matt on January 8th at a meeting. I can ask him.
Yeah. See if he can come out on January 30th.
Huh?
Next Monday.
I know.
Anything else on top of our heads for that 16? I think we really have to just focus on budget in the morning and all that, just get this out there. Review and approve order bills and warrants.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any other business? Cass?
None
Ann?
for me.
Nope.
Nothing here? Nothing? We don't need executive session. Move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.